Good afternoon, Year 4. This is the history lesson, and this will be our final history lesson for this half term. I wanted to start the lesson just by looking at the outstanding work that came in from last week's lesson. And I've got a couple of pieces of work to show you that were just really super examples. First one was from Ruby, and Ruby, well done. You did a really good letter back home from a Roman soldier, talking about you were safe in the Vindolanda camp, that you were fighting, that your training was really hard and using different weapons. You also talked about the 30 kilometres march with all the heavy armour on, and it was a really good little letter home, Ruby, so that's a really good example. Well done. Something different from Freddie F. Freddie organised his work a little bit differently. It was nicely done, talking about a soldier's life and what was it like to march, and he had pictures and he put information into boxes. I really like the way Freddie presented his. Is a bit different. Well done, Freddie. David did a brilliant letter home, and I really like this bit in David's where it says, apart from the uniforms being horrid, what is worse is this English weather. I hate it when it rains and it is windy and my legs get chilly really badly. I especially hate it when it snows when we're based at Vindolanda. Okay, and he talks in a lot. You talk in a lot of detail there, David, about your experiences as a soldier, and showed me in that letter just how much you really did learn from that last lesson. So really well done, good job. And Michaela, really fantastic piece of work, showing all the different elements of a Roman soldier, but with a really good picture in the middle, and then the different aspects that we talked about last week about how the Roman soldiers lived, their exercise, their jobs, all around the picture. So there we have some really good examples of some more work, just to show you children what you could be capable of at home, just putting a little bit more time into the tasks if you possibly can, to try and get some your work up to some of the standards of these four children here. So well done, you four. I was really impressed with the history and also with the presentation of your work. So today we're going to go back to that key question. We're going to be thinking, why did the Romans march through County Durham? Some of us are going to be collecting information, some of us are going to be identifying, and some of us are going to be determining. We'll come back to this in a minute. So what do we know? We know about Hadrian's Wall now. We know that if we look around the wall, there's quite a lot of evidence that the Romans were there. And that is going to really help us today if we keep thinking back to the wall. One of the things that you have learnt about, and I think it might have been in a lesson with Mr. Forster, is this word Chester. And this word Chester that appears in lots of our towns across Britain, and it means it's the site of a Roman fort. And of course there's the big city of Chester over in the west, which is a huge Roman city, but there's a lot of this Chester in County Durham, and I'm sure you did some work on this with Mr. Forster about identifying local names, and I thought we'd just have a quick look at that, because that's good evidence to show us that the Romans had some sort of settlement or fort or place in these parts. So I want you just to look at this map here, and I found quite a few just on this map here. I found, oh please let me pick you up, there we go, wrong icon. I found Binchester, Lanchester, Chesterley Street, Ebchester, and then up here on the wall we've got Chesters, and then there's another one there, I think it says Rudchester, and then this is the actual wall itself. So this is a map showing you some of that area, and you can see that word Chester is used quite a lot, and this one here, Lanchester, this picture is a picture taken from above of the Roman fort that you can see in Lanchester. There's not much of it left, but this is where it would have been. You can see this big square shape on here, okay? And you can still see some of the remains today if you wanted to go over to Lanchester sometime. Okay. Oops. So what I've done here is have a little look at the wider map as well. So this actually identifies with all these little icons, identifies some of the Roman settlements in the area, and we can see that it's identified with a little red M meaning museum, or a little castle which means a little fort. And if you look at this line along the top here, what do you think this line is? It goes from one side of the country all the way across. This is the line of Hadrian's Wall, because we've got some castles, we've got some forts and castles, we've got some museums. Oh, there's the Vindolanda that we've already talked about. Okay. And then also here we've got this one, and this one, and this one. So there's Binchester that we just talked about. We've got this one, Longovicium Roman fort. Actually, that is Lanchester. So I'm going to lift Lanchester and put it there so you can see that's where Lanchester is, which is quite near to where we are in Stanley. This one here, oh, sorry, boys and girls. This one here, okay, this is actually Chesterley Street again, okay, and there's Durham. So you can see there's a lot of evidence that tells us from this map that the Roman soldiers must have marched all the way through this area, made their forts, made their houses and their settlements, and also settled up onto the wall. That's where they were heading. They were heading up there to build that wall and to protect the kingdom, the empire, the Roman Empire, by having that wall there. So lots of these maps today are telling you, as that's primary sources, giving you that evidence that actually that did happen. And, you know, Binchester Fort is somewhere quite nice to visit as well. You can actually see quite a lot of Roman remains there, and there's actually an old bathhouse you can see too. If we weren't in COVID crisis, children, we could very well have taken a trip to one of these places in our Roman topic, but hopefully another year we could do that. This one here is showing you again, this is Lanchester, but there it is, Longovicium Roman fort, okay, and it's right next to this street along here that runs all the way through, yeah, and then this over here is the town of Lanchester, little small villagey town, which some of you may know, so you know that's nearby. Okay, so what am I asking you to do today? We've talked about that word Chester. We've talked about some maps. I want you to collect some information and explain why the Romans were in County Durham. You can think about the reasons for their presence. What were they doing here? Why? Well, we just talked about that, didn't we? We talked about the fact that actually they were heading for the wall, weren't they? They were heading to build that wall and to protect the wall from any invasion, because that was the edge of their empire. This fine one, the key reasons for Roman presence. So, you know, that's a little bit more refined, a little bit more detailed than that final little learning objective there. So your task, it's on Teams. It says, collect some information that shows that the Romans have been in County Durham. This information could be maps, primary sources from the forts, or written evidence. Like we looked at last week, the letters from the soldiers. The task today is really a culmination of all the things that you've done over the last few weeks. If you're going to do blue, you need to identify and explain. It's the same task, but I want some explaining. And the explaining is done by using because in your fact file, okay? If you're red, it's the same as blue and green. You're going to use because, but you're also going to think about ranking the reasons from the most important to the least. You know, the Romans wanted to explore the UK. The Romans wanted to expand their empire. But what was the main reason? The main reason was all about that wall. So maybe you could think about putting them in order for me. So your task is to produce this fact file. There are some websites that I've saved on Teams for you with this task as well. I have also saved on Teams some blank fact files. You can use those blank fact files to create your work, to put the maps in there, to put the diagrams, the pictures, the information. about the word Chester and the different places in the northeast that you can identify. You can use the maps to do that, like I did. And you can use those on Teams if you want to, or you can present it in your own way. You could present it, like I just said, with a blank fact file, or you could do it through a PowerPoint or something on your computer if you so wish. Okay, I'll leave it entirely up to you. As you can see from the previous work that I was showing you earlier, you know, it's possible to do some really good work. There's Michaela's again. Or you could, you know, this sort of information, this is like a fact file that Freddie did, but today's fact file is about the marching through Durham, is about why they did that, what was the purpose, and where were they heading, and what was their reason behind that. Okay, so you've got those 3 tasks, green, blue and red. Remember, choose your task carefully. If you're somebody in school who normally I would expect you to write a lot, I will be expecting you to choose red, okay, to really think about those reasons and to really explain and use because. Okay, so that task is on Teams, and you can either upload your task back to Teams or you could email me your task. But this will be the final history of this term about the Romans marching through County Durham. So really make it your best piece of work. After half term, we'll be moving to a geography-based topic, children. So really make this history piece of work, really think about the maps that you can use, the resources that you can see on those websites, the primary sources, the ones with the pictures of the things they dug up, the film we saw last week of the soldiers. That's all telling you, you know, why they were at the wall and why they'd marched through County Durham to get to the wall. Okay, so I hope you have a happy history afternoon, and I will see you all soon. Goodbye.